So the question will be, when the markets pull back, which I don't think they will anytime soon. I'll make a prediction here, which, most people don't make predictions. I'll make a prediction that the US recovery will not stall, and there will be no significant market correction except because of these midterm elections. So if we have no market correction between now, which is June, and November of 2014, I think this market, what will end up happening is that conservative investors, let's say pension funds and so on and so forth, will go chase after the returns that they have not made these past 5 years. And this influx, this shift from safe or safety towards risk on, will propel this market up. And we could see the Dow at 20,000 and above with no significant market correction between now and 20,000. And that will be because conservative investors will be changing their philosophy. I'll give you a very good quote here, okay? About 3 or 4 years ago, I met a guy called Larry McDonald, who wrote the book, A Colossal Failure of Common Sense. And I'm very intrigued, how and why and when the markets will correct or collapse and so on and so forth. And, this is a guy who, he's very hardworking. He's very unconventional like me. He's willing and able to speak truth to power. He's often henny penny, which is that he's sort of like Mark Faber, boom, doom, and gloom report. So he's often wrong, but if you know how to take him with a pinch of salt, he can often be the canary, in the coal mine. And he said to me that the market collapses when the last short covers. I said to him, how can a market collapse if the last short is covered? If the last pessimistic person becomes a reluctant optimist, how does it collapse? And he says, it doesn't matter how it collapses, just that's when it collapses. Because the market has rallied now these past 5 years, I think I understand why. It'll collapse because the optimist, the original optimist, when he sees the pessimist entering into the market as an optimist, that's when the optimist will act like a pessimist. And the pessimist obviously is reacting late. And so by the time that the optimist becomes a pessimist and shorts, the pessimist will view that as a buying opportunity and will enter and dollar cost average as he's riding the markets down. But that's why I think that we could see the Dow going to 20,000 without any significant market correction. And when you start seeing these pension funds chasing after the returns that they have not made and must make up for with their lost decade, that is why I believe the Dow will rocket up to 20,000. And where it goes from there, or if there's a correction at I'm not wrong if the market corrects at 19,000. We're at 16,500 with no significant correction since the market was down in March 2005 at 6,500. Right? So it's gone up by 150+% with no correction, no significant correction. So for it to go to 19,000, I'm not wrong. I'm just saying that this market will relatively unabated continue to go up. And if the market continues to go up whilst the government is in a shutdown, when the American government shuts down, then really the only thing that's going to pull this market back is when the market, which is where investors are right now, they're irrationally pessimistic. When they become irrationally optimistic, when they become overly exuberant, once they see this market has done 5, 6, maybe 7 years of going up unabated, that's when you will see this time it's different, I can go risk on, but it'll be too late. That, they'll be buying in at 17, 17.5, 18,000, and that's when the market will rock. When this market rockets off, and I know that the S&P did 30% last year, that for me is the S&P with all the drag of investor sentiment. The S&P still went up. I'm talking about when the indexes and the markets really rocket off. When people aren't saying, oh, I don't understand why the Dow and the S&P have done well. They're just saying, wow, the S&P and the Dow has done well. If I say to you what goes up must come down, that employs the law of gravity. But if I say to you what goes down must come back up, that's the law of buoyancy. You can't stick a balloon underwater and expect it to sink. It'll pop up to the surface. It might not float up to the sky, but it'll pop up to the surface. And I'll give you now a quick little analysis as to how and why the market's gotten to where it's gotten. If in September of 2007, the Dow was at, let's say, 14,500, if you add 1% inflation and 1% population growth, right? So if you do 14,500 times 102% compounding for 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, you get to the Dow being right now, the Dow should be with 1.5 or 2% growth per year, you would have a Dow at around sort of 16.5, 17,000. And so that's why I think that this market is still undervalued, because the Dow should not be growing at only 2% a year compounded growth. So I think that that's why I'm relatively confident in making on camera for the world to see a prediction that I don't think that this market will collapse not to 20,000. If it can ride out this midterm election, that's the politicians, right? Not central banks or regulators. Politicians could break the confidence in the rally in this market, and that's about the only thing that could stop this market getting from 19,000 or 19 to 20,000.